My sister convinced my parents to disinherit me, saying I didn't deserve anything. When I refused to fight back, they thought they won. 3 years later, when the lawyer called, they learned the truth. I should have known something was off when my mom forgot my birthday for the first time in 30 years. It wasn't just the date. Birthdays were a big deal in our family. Growing up, Mom always went all out: balloons, homemade cakes, those cringy birthday crowns she made me wear even as a teenager. So when my birthday came and went without so much as a text, I chalked it up to her being busy. But then, weird little things started piling up. At first, it was subtle. My dad stopped sending his usual weekend check-in texts. Bella, my sister, had always been opinionated, but now her comments felt targeted. Like the time she laughed about how some people just don't know how to handle money. She said it while staring right at me across the table. I didn't think much of it. She's always been like that, taking jabs for no reason. But then she added, "Good thing Dad and Mom have me to keep things in line." I remember sitting there, fork midair, trying to process the tone of that comment. It wasn't the words, it was the smirk, like she knew something I didn't. The first real sign something bigger was going on came during a casual dinner at my parents' house. Bella had started showing up more often than usual, every week, sometimes multiple times. I didn't think much of it at first. She lived closer and had a knack for worming her way into every aspect of their lives. But that night, something felt and staged. We were halfway through dinner when Bella said, "Mom, tell Sean about the estate update." "The estate update? What estate update?" Mom froze. Dad cleared his throat and gave Bella a sharp look, but she just shrugged, as if to say, "What?" "He's going to find out eventually." I didn't press them about it at the time. It felt too awkward. Instead, I let it sit in the back of my mind, gnawing at me for days. Why hadn't my parents mentioned anything? What could possibly have changed? 2 weeks later, I got a text from Dad. "Family meeting this Sunday at 3 p.m. Important." My stomach flipped. Family meetings weren't a thing in our house. The last time we had one, it was to decide who got to keep Grandma's antique china after she passed. I arrived at their house early, hoping to get a sense of what was going on. Bella was already there, sitting smugly in the living room with a mug of tea like she owned the place. She didn't even say hi. Mom and Dad came in, looking unusually serious. Dad cleared his throat. "We wanted to talk to you both about some changes we're making to our will." I didn't like where this was going. He kept talking, explaining how they'd been reviewing their estate and reevaluating what's fair. Mom chimed in, saying, "We feel that Bella has taken on more responsibility with us lately, and, well, we've decided that the estate will go to her." I blinked. "The estate? You mean the house? And the assets?" Dad added, as if that clarified anything. "Bella will be the primary beneficiary." The words hung in the air like a bad smell. I tried to keep my face neutral, but inside, I was a storm. They weren't just talking about a few heirlooms or the house. This was the bulk of their wealth, investments, savings, everything. I didn't argue. Maybe I should have, but in that moment, all I could think was, why? I'd never been a troublemaker. I paid my bills, held a steady job and stayed out of drama. Bella, on the other hand, had a history of maxing out credit cards and sweet-talking her way out of consequences. Still, I kept my cool. "If that's what you think is fair, okay." Bella's smirk was so wide it could have cut glass. "Wow, no fight? That's mature of you." I ignored her and left shortly after. On the drive home, I replayed the conversation over and over, dissecting every word. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how carefully Bella had been laying the groundwork for this. The subtle digs, the increased visits, the way she always made a point to help out when I wasn't around. Weeks passed, and I tried to move on. But then, something strange happened. A mutual friend from high school messaged me out of the blue. "Hey, is everything okay with your family? Bella's been saying some interesting stuff about you." I asked what she meant, and her reply made my blood boil. Bella had been telling people I was irresponsible with money, that I'd borrowed from our parents and never paid them back, that I'd checked out of the family. None of it was true. That night, I called my parents. They sounded distant. Mom dismissed my concerns, saying, "Bella's just trying to protect us. You should appreciate how much she's stepped up lately." Stepped up? I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Bella wasn't stepping up, she was staging a coup. I could have fought back. Maybe I should have. But at that point, I realized there was no winning. My parents had made their decision, and Bella had played her cards perfectly. I wasn't going to beg or grovel for something that should have been based on trust and love, not manipulation. So, I stepped back. I stopped visiting, stopped calling, stopped trying. It wasn't worth the energy. If they wanted to believe Bella's lies, so be it. I'd build my own life without them. 3 years passed, I built a career, found a place I loved, and tried to move forward. But every so often, I'd hear a little snippet, Bella boasting about her new car, or how she'd taken charge of the family finances. It stung, but I kept my distance. Then, last week, I got a voicemail from a lawyer. Update. The lawyer's voicemail wasn't just surprising, it felt like opening a door to a room I didn't even know existed. Mr. Sean, this is regarding your parents' estate. There are some documents I think you should see. Call me back as soon as possible. I replayed it 3 times. My parents' estate? I hadn't heard a word about it in years, not since the family meeting where they made it clear Bella was the chosen one. I'd resigned myself to being left out, so why was a lawyer suddenly calling me? I called back that afternoon. The lawyer, Mr. Harding, was polite but guarded on the phone. He wouldn't say much, just that it was important we speak in person. I took the earliest appointment I could get, curiosity gnawing at me. His office was small and neat, tucked into a quiet downtown building. When I arrived, he gestured for me to sit across from his desk. I appreciate you coming in, Sean, he began, shuffling through a stack of papers. I've been reviewing your parents' estate plan, and something unusual caught my attention. My heart skipped. Unusual how? He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. As you know, your parents updated their will a few years ago, leaving the bulk of the estate to your sister. However, there are discrepancies in the paperwork she provided to support those changes. Discrepancies? I repeated. Yes. He slid a folder across the desk. Take a look at this. The first page looked normal enough, a signed copy of the updated will, but as I flipped through I noticed notes and annotations, legal jargon that meant nothing to me. Mr. Harding explained. Your sister submitted financial records, emails, and other documents to support her claim that your parents' previous estate plan was outdated and didn't reflect their wishes. He paused. But some of those documents appear to have been altered. Altered how? I asked. He pointed to an email printed in the stack. This, for example. It's dated 2 years before your parents made the changes, but the metadata suggests it was created much later, around the time your parents were revising the will. I stared at the page, the words blurring together. Bella forged an email? As Mr. Harding walked me through the documents, a picture began to form. Bella hadn't just manipulated my parents, she'd gone to great lengths to secure their trust. Fake emails, exaggerated financial statements, and even fabricated proof that I was irresponsible with money. She told them I borrowed money I never paid back, I said, the pieces clicking. She said I couldn't handle responsibility. Mr. Harding nodded grimly. Your parents believed her. These documents played a significant role in convincing them to change the will. The anger hit me like a wave. I'd spent years swallowing my pride, convincing myself it wasn't worth fighting over. All the while, Bella had been lying through her teeth. Why didn't anyone catch this before? I asked. Your sister provided everything your parents needed to make their decision. There was no reason for them, or their previous attorney, to question it. He leaned back. But now, with your parents' recent passing. Wait. I froze. Their what? The room went silent. Mr. Harding's expression shifted. I assumed you knew. I shook my head. Knew what? Your parents passed away last month. It's why I'm handling their estate now. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. My parents were gone? How could I not have known? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old messages, emails, anything. Nothing. I hadn't spoken to them in years, but surely someone would have told me. Right? Your sister didn't inform you? Harding asked. No, I said. He sighed, rubbing his temple. I'm sorry, Sean. This must be difficult to process. Difficult didn't begin to cover it. Bella had kept me in the dark about their deaths, probably to ensure I wouldn't show up and cause trouble. The realization was a gut punch. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this. Bella wasn't just trying to keep the estate, she was hiding something. I went back to Mr. Harding with a new sense of urgency. Is there anything else? Anything that would explain why Bella kept this from me? He hesitated, then pulled out another folder. There is one more thing. Your grandparents set up a trust in your name before they passed. It's not tied to the estate, but it was meant to be distributed to you when you turned 30. I stared at him. And your sister was listed as the secondary beneficiary in the event you couldn't be located. My blood ran cold. Bella had orchestrated everything to make it seem like I was irresponsible, unreliable, and unworthy, possibly to claim the trust if I stayed out of the picture long enough. How much is in the trust? I asked. Substantial, Harding replied. Enough that it could explain her actions. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called Bella. She picked up on the second ring, her tone dripping with faux sweetness. Sean. Wow, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. What's up? Cut the crap, Bella. I know everything. There was a pause. Everything? The forged emails, the lies, the trust. Her tone shifted instantly. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. Harding showed me the documents. Her laugh was cold and sharp. So what? You think you can waltz back into the picture and take what's mine? It's not yours, I snapped. It was never yours. Her voice turned venomous. You walked away, Sean. You didn't fight. That's on you. I hung up before she could say more. My hands were shaking, but for the first time in years, I felt a spark of determination. Final update. When Mr. Harding called me back, his voice was serious. Sean, I've uncovered something about the trust. It changes everything. That one sentence rattled me. After weeks of digging through Bella's lies, I thought I'd seen it all. Apparently, I was wrong. Can you come to my office tomorrow? He asked. Absolutely, I said. The next morning, I arrived at his office, feeling a mix of curiosity and dread. Harding gestured for me to sit and laid a single piece of paper on the desk between us. This, he said, tapping the page, is the original document for your grandparents' trust. What's significant is this clause here. I leaned in, reading carefully. The clause stated that the trust would transfer to me fully at age 30, but there was more. If I didn't claim it within 3 years of becoming eligible, the funds wouldn't go to Bella as the secondary beneficiary. Instead, they would revert to a charitable foundation my grandparents had set up decades ago. Harding looked at me expectantly. So, what does that mean? I asked. It means Bella couldn't claim the trust for herself. But it also means she had a very limited window to stop you from finding out about it. The pieces started clicking into place. Bella's lies, her manipulation, even keeping my parents' deaths a secret, it was all part of her plan to run out the clock. If I hadn't received that voicemail when I did, the trust would have quietly disappeared. Why would Bella do this if she couldn't get the money? I asked. Harding sighed. From what I've seen, this was about control. She wanted to isolate you, undermine your relationship with your parents, and ensure you had no chance of reclaiming your place in the family. Control. The word felt heavier than it should. Bella had always been competitive, always desperate to be the center of attention. Growing up, she'd fought for every ounce of approval from our parents, even when it wasn't a competition. But this went beyond sibling rivalry. This was calculated. Over the next week, Harding and I compiled everything we had. Forged emails, altered documents, Bella's attempts to keep me in the dark. There was one particularly damning discovery, a series of messages Bella sent to an old college friend. In them, she bragged about how easy it was to get the will changed, and how she'd convinced my parents I was completely irresponsible. I'll make sure he doesn't come sniffing around. One message read. By the time he figures it out, it'll be too late. I stared at the screen, a cold knot forming in my stomach. This wasn't just deceit, it was sabotage. I knew I couldn't let Bella get away with this, but I also knew she wouldn't admit anything willingly. So I decided to confront her in person. When I showed up at her house unannounced, she looked surprised but recovered quickly. Sean, what if a surprise? What brings you here? I didn't waste time. We need to talk about the trust. Her face barely flinched, but her eyes betrayed her. What trust? You know exactly what I'm talking about, I said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Harding found the documents, the forged emails, the lies you told Mom and Dad, everything. For a moment, Bella said nothing. Then she laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. So what, you think you can prove anything? Actually, yes. I said, holding up my phone. I've got emails, witness statements, and your little chats with Sarah. Should I keep going? Her smirk faltered. You don't understand. I did what I had to do. Mom and Dad trusted me to take care of things. By lying to them, by turning them against me. They needed someone strong, she snapped. You would have wasted everything they worked for. Her words stung, but I refused to let her twist the narrative. This wasn't about them. This was about you. You wanted control, and you didn't care who you had to step on to get it. Bella tried to fight back. She called me selfish, ungrateful, even accusing me of abandoning their family when things got tough. But the more she talked, the clearer it became that she was panicking. The next day, I filed a formal complaint with the executor of my parents' estate. Bella's actions not only invalidated the updated will but also opened the door for legal consequences. When the truth came out, my parents' friends and our extended family were shocked. Bella's carefully curated image crumbled overnight. She'd always been the golden child, the one everyone admired. Now, people saw her for who she really was.